Osinbajo in Addis Ababa to attend the ongoing African Union Summit, just as Southeast leaders urge federal government to commence dialogue on modalities towards achieving restructuring of Nigeria. Plus, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation says its recent intervention has led to 42% fall in the price of diesel. This and more on Panorama today with me. I am Lydia Bassi. Thank you for joining us. We begin Panorama on a sad note. The former Nigeria's permanent representative at the United Nations and the Damasanin Kano, Alhaji Yusuf Maitama Sule, is dead. Alhaji Maitama Sule died at a Cairo hospital in Egypt at the age of 88, where he was flown for medical treatment. A diplomat, politician, and an orator of repute, the Damasanin Kano was known for his nationalistic views at all times.
Hope that Nigeria would take its proper place in the Committee of Nations. Hope that Nigeria would play her role as the leading nation in Africa. Hope that Nigeria would develop her resources and therefore develop her economy and improve the lot of the people. Hope that Nigerians would be decent, responsible, reliable people. Hope that Nigeria would be respected in the Committee of Nations and the reputation of Nigeria would be high. That was our hope.
It was.
The annual summit of the African Union involving heads of state and governments is ongoing in Addis Ababa, the Ethiopia capital. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo arrived at Addis Ababa in the early morning hours of today to attend the meeting, which is holding on the 3rd and 4th of July 2017. The acting president was received on arrival by Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyama, current Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and former Minister of Environment Amina Mohammed, as well as Ambassador of Nigeria to Ethiopia Adeoye Bankole and top embassy staff. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the theme of the 29th Assembly of the Union is harnessing the demographic dividend through investment in youths. All is now set for the 29th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union, which opens in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo is expected at the AU Summit. In line with the mandate of the ECOWAS heads of state for the Council of Ministers to work out the modalities for achieving the reform of the organization, the ECOWAS Council of Ministers has met on the sidelines. Makut Simon Macham has the details.
The Council of ECOWAS Ministers met in line with the mandate of the last meeting of the body in Liberia, where they were mandated to work on the modalities for the reform of the Commission. At this meeting held behind closed doors, they deliberated on the sharing formula for positions at the ECOWAS Commission, particularly those of commissioners, which will henceforth be reduced from 15 to 9. Nigeria's Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyama sheds more light on the meeting.
Who will be the president of the commission? There was a committee that was set up, a subcommittee that was set up, that came up with a proposal. But some countries don't accept that. And so it's going to be put up to the heads of state, and we'll see what they decide.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Foreign Affairs also on Sunday submitted the report of the mediation effort on Morocco-Sahrawi conflict to the AU Executive Council. Nigeria was mandated to mediate between the two countries on the report of accusations on human rights abuses by Morocco. The minister explained that Acting President Yemi Osinbajo will address the summit on the reform of the AU and other issues that Nigeria has been championing as a leading nation on the continent.
He's going to speak most importantly to the institutional reform. We want to reform the African Union, and there's a proposal on the table how to finance the Union in particular. That's going to be a very important subject that he's going to address, because Nigeria is one of the big contributors to the Union. And of course, he'll be engaged in the whole issue of ECOWAS.
From Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, I am Makut Simon Macham, NTA News.
And back home, Southeast leaders have laid their full support to the restructuring of Nigeria on the platform of fairness and equity and called on the federal government to commence processes of dialogue on modalities of achieving this within a reasonable time frame. This took the center stage at a one-day interactive meeting of the leaders from the Southeast on the state of the nation. Ijoma Ugweke has the details.
It was a gathering of leaders of thought in the Southeast, including traditional rulers, religious leaders, technocrats, and the political class. The meeting centered on issues that border on the state of the nation. In a 7-point communique after the meeting, the chairman, Southeast Governors Forum, Chief David Omahi, said Igbos support the full implementation of the National Conference of 2014 and urged the federal government to set up structures to enable the implementation within a reasonable time frame. Chief Omahi said the Southeasterners are in full support of a united Nigeria where peace, fairness, equity of opportunities are paramount. They also condemn all hate speeches and misconduct by any segment of the country.
Southeast governors, members of the National Assembly, leadership from Southeast, and the leadership of Ohanes and Igbo shall henceforth constitute the official organs that will speak on behalf of Igbo.
He further said that plans are underway to engage the federal government on all issues concerning Igbos while assuring the safety of lives and property of Southeasterners in all parts of the country, as well as those residing in the zone. In Enugu, Ijoma Ugweke, NTA News.
And from Jalingo, the intensive response of the federal government at resolving the communal crisis on the Mambila Plateau in Sadauna local government of Taraba State is described as genuine responsibility that can be replicated in curbing violent crises across the country. Governor Darius Ishaku said this when the Minister of Interior Abdulrahman Dambazau led a delegation on a fact-finding mission paid him courtesy visit. Joseph Otsen reports.
With relative calm being experienced on the Mambila Plateau in Sadauna local government area of Taraba State, stakeholders have commenced the process of bringing lasting peace in the affected communities.
Because district heads, they're supposed to have various responsibilities to see that problems do not escalate. But in so many instances where we went to, we realized that even the district head saw things happening and he did nothing about it.
The fact-finding mission embarked upon by the Minister for Interior, Abdulrahman Bello Dambazau, to the Mambila Plateau is among the many responses of the federal government towards lasting peace in the area. The minister said he will be visiting the affected communities for an on-the-spot assessment.
So our intention here is most of it long-term. How do we prevent such a thing from happening in the future? How do we ensure that it doesn't happen? How do we ensure that there is peaceful coexistence within the various communities?
Governor Darius Dixon Ishaku informed the delegation that the state government had information on the build-up to the communal crisis and set up a committee headed by the Deputy Governor Haruna Manu to address the grey areas between the affected communities. But before the community would commence work, the crisis broke out.
We have had, I think, within the span of a year, more than 8 crises in this state. More than 8 in different local governments. But it hasn't been taken with the vibrancy like this one is taking. If we had taken that action, maybe the first time it happened, maybe this one wouldn't have happened.
He briefed the delegation about efforts made by the state government to curb the crisis, including the setting up of another committee to be chaired by the chief of Mambila, Shehu Baju, and made up of all the ethnic groups in the area to look into the causes of the crisis and recommend peaceful processes. In Jalingo, Joseph Sound O10, NTA News.
Still from that axis, the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mustafa Inusa Mehaja, has embarked on an assessment visit to various IDP camps across the Mambila Plateau in Taraba State. The visit was aimed at evaluating the immediate needs of thousands of persons displaced by the recent attacks on some communities in the area for urgent intervention. Awal Abdullahi has the details.
Leading the NEMA assessment team to the Mambila Plateau, the Director General Mustafa Yunusa Haja stated that the visit to the IDP camps was to ascertain the condition of the IDPs with a view to providing them relief materials. Represented by the Director Search and Rescue of the agency, Air Commodore Sonny Paul Ohemo, the Director General sympathized with the IDPs, assuring them of the agency's concern over their plight. The DG, who made it known that the visit was directed by the acting president Yemi Oshibanjo, called on the displaced persons to remain calm as the federal government will do everything possible to ensure timely return to their respective homes.
This thing happened, we sat down to do this planning and immediately we responded. That's why we're here. The assessment team is here to immediately come and assess the situation here so that an immediate response will come to this locality.
Earlier on arrival at Gembu, the headquarters of Saduna local government, the assessment team paid homage on the chief of Mambila at his palace, where the team leader intimated the monarch on their mission to the area. The traditional ruler appreciated the rapid response by the federal government, which stalled further escalation of the crisis. Among the camps visited were the ones in Gembu town, Nguroje and Leme, which accommodated thousands of IDPs. From the Mambila Plateau, Awal Abdullahi, NTA News.
Back in Abuja, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, says its recent strategic intervention has led to 42% fall in the price of automotive gas oil known as diesel, and that it will sustain the downward price across the country. A statement released by Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, NNPC, Ndu Gwamadu indicated that a survey by its weekly forum in the last few weeks shows price of diesel has fallen steadily from 175 naira and 200 naira per litre to as low as between 155 naira and 160 naira per litre in some stations across the country. In Port Harcourt, the average price is as low as 150% per litre, 150 naira per litre, I beg your pardon. However, the situation is slightly different in Delta and Akwa Ibom states, where the product is sold at 180 naira per litre. NNPC interventions included sustained supply of the product, remodeling of product distribution, and robust engagement with critical downstream stakeholders, leading to the resolution of salient issues. And now health. People living with sickle cell anemia have held an awareness walk in Abuja to sensitize the public on preventive measures to the disease. Kunle Adeyeye reports that the walk, which started at UTC in Area 10, terminated at Area 2.
Sickle cell is a genetic disease that is inherited from both parents as a result of red blood cell abnormality. Though preventable, sickle cell anemia has continued to be in existence due to lack of awareness, especially amongst people in rural areas. Records have it that there are more than 2 million people that are carriers of the trait of sickle cell who stand the risk of passing it to their offspring. It is to enlighten such people and save them the social and economic trauma that the Medunama Foundation is out on the street. Rabbi Medunama, who has been battling sickle cell anemia for decades, is leading the campaign. Medunama wants other sickle cell patients to join the vanguard and encourage intending couples to go for necessary tests before sealing the union.
We need a policy on sickle cell. We need help. At least let folic acid be free for every sickle cell patient. We're millions now in Nigeria.
Rabbi's mother couldn't agree any less. She wants emphasis to be laid on advocacy, hospital visits, free genotype tests, data collection and registration, as well as free drug distribution. Already some mosques and churches have made it a criteria the presentation of medical certificates giving clean bill of health to couple before contracting marriages. In Abuja, Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
You can watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. Let's pause for some messages. Panorama returns shortly. Stay with us.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. Put Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Welcome back. This is Panorama on the network service of the NTA. The Anglican Archbishop of Enugu Ecclesiastical Province has appealed to those in positions of trust to ensure that the unity of the country is not compromised, especially now that there are agitations by some regions in the country. This formed the main thrust of the presidential charge by the Archbishop of Enugu Anglican Diocese, Most Reverend Emmanuel Chukwuma, to the third session on the 16th Synod. Chimobi Walter Naji reports.
The presidential address, which dwelt on both spiritual and secular matters, berated some governors who are owing salaries at this time of recession. Archbishop Chukwuma commended the acting president Yemi Osinbajo for the wide consultations in his bid to put an end to hate speeches and trading of threats by some regions in the country. The presidential address also appreciated the prompt effort by federal and state governments in reducing carnages by rehabilitating the highways, especially those in the southeast. The theme for this year's synod is "The Worthless Idols Men Worship." This year's synod attracted bishops and archbishops from neighboring dioceses within and outside the zone, including the Deputy Governor of Imo State, Prince Eze Madumere, who pledged government's continual effort in keeping the country as one indivisible entity. The synod is an occasion to take stock of activities and progress made in the last year by the diocese. The Anglican Bishop of Enugu Province and Bishop of Enugu Diocese, Most Reverend Emmanuel Chukwuma, led the House of Clergy and the House of Laity in a thanksgiving to appreciate God for a successful conclusion of the third session of the 16th Synod. In Enugu, Chimobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
Nigerians have been challenged to always put the interests of the country first for peaceful coexistence, growth, development and unity to thrive. This was a focal point of sermons delivered in some churches within the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The report.
While emphasizing the need for Nigerians to rekindle their spirit of patriotism and get towards positive development of the country, Reverend William Okoye of the All Christians Fellowship Mission enjoined Nigerians to shun all forms of ethnic agitations and work towards making the country greater.
The reason for this message is to promote those values that will help our nation develop, help our people move forward, instead of just selling out for a morsel of meat.
At the Dominion Chapel International Church, Archbishop John Praise Daniel centered his message on the power of faith to turn the nation's circumstances for a brighter tomorrow.
Why are we killing ourselves? Why are we speaking the hate speech and the hate languages and destroying one another? You know, I believe that this nation has the potential for greatness, and it takes the eyes of faith to see that greatness that is awaiting our nation, and not as divided.
Special prayers were offered for speedy recovery of President Muhammadu Buhari and for God's intervention in Nigeria.
And now sports. Blessing Okagbare Egoteguano in third position at Diamond League meet in